and it's a manuscript of 800, and so more than how many years ago? It's more than 600 years ago that I, by the will of Allah Jalla wa Ala, deciphered first into Arabic, and then it was translated into English. So alhamdulillah, it's a book about the intention, written by a great scholar who was a Shafi'i scholar. He was the son of a Qadi, who was the son of a Qadi, and he himself was a Qadi. And he was the student of Al-Izz bin Abd Salam, who was one of the great scholars. And this is actually a book where he summarized the book of his Shaykh. So Al-Qadi Hibatullah al-Barizi summarized the book of Al-Izz bin Abd Salam. And the book of Al-Izz bin Abd Salam was a summarized version of the book of Al-Harith al-Muhasibi, who was a Shaykh of the 3rd century. You see? And so, alhamdulillah, it actually explains everything which has to do with niyyah. How to overcome the obstacles and really the fiqh of it. Like the priorities, the obstacles, the goals, the means, the tricks, the tips, and so much more. So, inshallah, soon this will be, inshallah, out. So, because there are some things, as you see, this needs to go a bit more there, so much more. So that's just a pilot version, but then inshallah it will be there. So those who want to, inshallah, later on, I would like to explain this book as well. As this book I've been working on for a long time, I think inshallah it will be nice. Like I said, this is my book in Dutch, which is Know Allah. And for the moment we are translating it into English as well. Then I have another one which is out in Dutch as well, which is Spiritual Pearls, which is also in Dutch, but is being translated as well. Then I have another one which is called Rida, Contentment, of Ibn Abi Dunya, also of one of the scholars of old, more than 1,000 years ago, which is being content with Allah's decree and choices in life, which is in Dutch. It's also being translated into English. And then I just published another one in Dutch, which is the fiqh of dream interpretation, which is a research based on many works and manuscripts. It is one of the sciences I've learned with the scholars, is the interpretation of dreams, which I don't do very often, because once you do it, you need to open a bureau, an office. No, it's true. And you will need to charge people, because that will become your full-time job. And explanation of dreams in reality is very fascinating, because when someone tells you a dream, you know exactly what's going on. And then sometimes people think you're a soothsayer or a fortune teller, because you say, okay, for example, did your grandmother die before your mother, after your mother, and this and that? So how do you know? I say, well, it's not a jinn telling my jinn, it's a science, and this is what I try to explain in this book, the fiqh of dream interpretation. It's really deep, and you will see that interpreting dreams is actually the same as giving Islamic verdicts. And it does, a thing like, I'm going to take a book and then I'm going to look for a word and then I'm going to explain your dream, or my dream doesn't exist. To start with, the book of dream interpretation of Muhammad bin Sirin, which is very often used, it's a dictionary of dreams. To start with, it's not his. He didn't write it. The most strong opinion seems to be that his daughter wrote it. And the second thing is that these books weren't written for people like the majority of the Muslims. They were instruments for the scholars to use. Because, like, okay, I dreamt of an apple. Then you're going to look at an apple, but there are so many things going on. Was it day? Was it night? Was the apple in front of you, on the right of you, on the left of you? Which color did it have? Did it have two colors? Was it beautiful on the outside? Was it rotten on the inside? Or was it rotten on the outside? Was it beautiful on the inside? Was the inside yellow? Was it red? Did you eat from it? Did you smell it? All of this changes the dream interpretation. And this is why Imam Malik rahimahullah said that no one without expertise should explain a dream. He said, because someone doing so is actually playing with the religion of Allah. This is the opinion of Imam Malik rahimahullah azza wa jal. And Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said, and the interpretation of a dream is equal to giving a fatwa. Done. It's It's the world of the unseen, you see. It's the world of the unseen. And the Prophet ﷺ said, I'm sorry, my voice is a bit gone, I don't know, it's maybe hay fever or whatever. So the Prophet ﷺ made it very clear that at the end of days, there will be nothing as truthful and as straightforward as the dream of a mu'min. And he said, the dream of a mu'min is one of 1 and 70, in another narration 1 and 40, and so many parts of prophethood. So at the end of days, sometimes we are desperately looking for people giving us advice, desperately looking for this divine connection where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell us what to do. Maybe you have been communicated with by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so many times, but because you think it's nothing, you thought it was just a dream. And sometimes we say, okay, that was a dream from my subconscious. And it's not true. You think it to be as such because you have no knowledge. And if you look at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, then you see that those who interpreted the dream of the king, at the end, what did they say about the dream of the king? They said, أَضْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ. They are just, unclear dreams of the subconscious. And so they said, we can't explain it. They said it themselves. They said, and we are not able to explain unclear dreams. But when Yusuf alayhi salam came, it was actually a very clear dream to him. Even though that the other people were scholars, the king made them come from the entire world to explain his dream. And they all said, أَضْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ. Like in Surah Yusuf, they're just, disturbed dreams of the subconscious. It doesn't mean anything. And then they said, and we are not able to explain the dreams of the unconsciousness. Yeah? But then Yusuf alayhi salam was freed, and he made it very clear. He said, your dream has a meaning. So now, if we go like this with our dreams, you should consider your dream to be a form of divine connection with you. That's what it is. The Prophet ﷺ said it was a great deal of prophethood. And then he said, as I said, the greatest or the most trustworthy thing at the end of days is the dream of a mu'min. So now, when you know this, then you also understand why the Prophet ﷺ used to explain or interpret dreams in the early morning, after Fajr, very often, not only once, many times, on many occasions. He would say, who dreamt a dream? Yani, who saw something during the night? And then they would say, me ya Rasulullah, me ya Rasulullah. And Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, he says in Fath al-Bari, and from this we take away that the Prophet ﷺ was teaching the companions how to interpret it, or to interpret. Do we say it like this? Interpret. Okay. How to interpret dreams, you see. So he was actually teaching them how to do this. Exactly like the Prophet ﷺ used to teach them so many things, like al-istikhara. The Prophet ﷺ said, or the companion said, like he used to teach us al-istikhara, like he would teach anyone amongst us Surah Al-Fatiha. So the Prophet ﷺ had these teachings. Istikhara, because it's connected to the world of the unseen. You ask Allah Jalla wa Ala to make your dreams come true. And then on the other hand, he used to teach the people to, watch out for the meanings of these dreams. They are telling you so much. I mean, subhanAllah, in so many dreams, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us different things. And this is, Al-Alim subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Alim is the one who knows everything, and he decides how you come to know things and when you come to know these things. And this is why today we have electricity, and we have light bulbs, and we have airplanes, and we have so many other things. Even we saw things in the last 10 years or 15 years which we didn't see before that. Just think about the smartphone. Just think about tablets. Just think about these special watches that keep track of your health and of your heartbeat and of so many different things. So we keep on inventing things, but in reality we are not inventing things. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unveiling to us a part of His knowledge. So inventions are actually no more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifting the veil so that we could see a part of His knowledge that we can use. You understand? So this is Al-Alim subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the King. So He decides what you are allowed to know and what you aren't allowed to know. And He decides when to know it and when to forget it. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. They will not encompass anything, any part of His knowledge, apart from that which He wants. Khalas. And this is why sometimes now you know, and then when you're sitting behind your examination papers, all of a sudden I have a blackout. I have no blackout. I have my memory being taken out by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we would always be humbled in front of He who never forgets. And sometimes when we get frustrated because we forget something, not because we don't take care, not because we didn't take our precautions and so forth, no, just because we forget. And then, how could I forget? And this is actually driven by kibr, by pride. Because how do you expect from yourself not to forget? SubhanAllah. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes shows that He is so powerful. I mean, you have a Google agenda, right? Google Calendar, where you liaise with people and so much more. Well, Google and Facebook and Instagram, and you know that they crashed, right? So now people are so dependent on other things to know what they should do that we have got rid of our brain. We don't memorize anymore. It's all outside. So if tomorrow internet breaks down, then we have a problem. So that day, everybody who was relying on social media to be able to keep track of what they had to do that day, they actually came to know that there is nothing that can encompass knowledge at all times apart from Allah Jalla wa Ala. Because He is Al-Qawi Al-Mateen. Al-Qawi, the powerful. Al-Mateen, the ulama say, He is the one whose power never decreases. Exactly as His power doesn't increase. Because increasing means that there is an evolution going on. That you were strong, but now you're stronger. Allah is Al-Qawi, done. He didn't go, nothing of His attributes went through an evolution. And this is also why the people of Sunnah say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after creation was created, He didn't all of a sudden now become the high, the most high. I mean, He was always the most high. So it's not, okay, now creation is there. Oh, Allah is there, so now He's most high. It doesn't work like that. He was most high, He always was, before anything was created. And if we say that He has to thank His names, or He needs to thank creation, or that He got these names thanks to creation, then we are having a problem. And this is why Imam al-Tahawi says, كَانَ رَازِقًا قَبْلَ أَنْ يَرْزُقْ. He was a raziq even before there were people that were needed to be provided for. He was always raziq. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anyway, to come back. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, He is the King. And that's one of the names we are going to discuss today. And I told you that I had grouped these names in my Know Allah book. The scholars of old did this as well. And you can see the scholars now today, they also do this. So a lot of them are actually grouping these names from their understanding, how they look at these names. And there's nothing wrong with this. Yeah. But all the scholars agree that the names of Allah Jalla wa Ala can be divided into two main categories. And these two main categories are Asma'ul Jamali وأسماء الجلال. أسماء الجمال and أسماء الجلال. The first one, أسماء الجمال, they mean the names of divine beauty. But all the names are beautiful. So what they mean is the gentle names. The names that we fancy. The names that we like in a certain way. And then we have Asma'ul Jalal, which are the names of His Majesty, yani that show that He's majestic and powerful and ruler and so forth. So they divide them into two categories. What the problem is for us Muslims very often is that we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to connect to us through the Asma'ul Jamal only. So we want Him to show us that He's the giver, that He's the forgiver, that He is the provider, that He's the protector, that He's all the one that loves, the one that takes care of you, and so much more. So we like these names. So when the names of Jamal come into our lives, they are manifested through things we see in our lives. We are not allowed to disconnect anything happening in our lives from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when these things take place, we say Shukran ya Rabbi. Say thank you my Lord, oh thank you, you're always on my side. Bismillah. I love it when you give me, I love it when you protect me, I love it when you show people that they are lying about me and that which they are saying about me is not true. So these are Asma'ul Jamal. But when the difficult things take place in our lives, then all of a sudden we seem to disconnect them from Allah. We just look at them as afflictions. We look at them as difficult things. And the reason why afflictions break us and don't make us is because we disconnect them from Allah. You see? So if we now were to understand that these names of Jalal, meaning the one that takes away what you like, the one that crushes your ego, the one that sometimes allows people to talk rubbish about you, to talk badly about you, and that people believe them, and you are there being falsely accused. Think about Aisha radiallahu anha. You know, everybody's talking. That's Jalal. That's heavy. It's not the same like everybody praising you, is it? Like you come out and everybody, Nu'man, yes, Nu'man, you know, with banners and bells and, you know, and then you're happy and the next day you come out and not you, me, and they throw rotten eggs at me and they you know, they start insulting me. It's not the same feeling, is it? You know, the first one you say, oh, mashallah, good. Thank you, Rabbi, keep on going. But when this happens, you feel alone. You feel in these times where everything goes wrong, where everything seems to be against you, you actually feel that you are without Allah, while He is with you through the affliction, just in another way. He's showing you, and this is why when you are afflicted, that you should try to, and I'm giving this advice to myself in the first place, that we should try to look for the names that Allah wants us to connect with. This is what we should do. Because He's still doing this exactly as He's blessing us. Here He's blessing us in another way. He's telling us, look, now get to know me. Get to know that I am Al-Qadir, that I am Al-Jabbar, that I choose what I give and what I take. Your ego is beloved to you, I know, but that's the reason why now I crush your ego, so that you can come to me. So they say that as long as you want to get to know Allah Jalla wa Ala in the place of Jamal, you will not connect to Him. The majority of people connect to Allah through Jalal. It is when everything leaves you, when everything gives up on you, when nobody seems to be able to give you a helping hand, or, you know, a nice word, kind word, when all the doors are closed and you're in need of money and nobody wants to help you. It is there when you are patient in that oven, like the Prophet ﷺ said, that the tests are the oven, are an oven to take away our mistakes, like gold is being placed in an oven and it takes away all the filth. So now to come back, it is there where people get to know Allah, but that's where we flee away from. And that's why we never make this connection. It's like someone, putting, how do you call this? How do you call this? The socket? No, the thing that you put inside of it. It's like when you plug it in the socket and you see some electricity, you take it out again. But it was actually not dangerous. You just have to continue, and then it was connected. And this is what we do. And we get back, you see? So we always take it out again, but you just have to go. It won't hurt you. You will find Him behind this. And this is why our scholar said, he said, أوقات الفاقات أعياد المريدين or أعياد العارفين. أوقات الفاقات نعم أعياد العارفين, which means times of despair and need are the feast of those who know Allah, because they know that it only happens to connect to Him. But this is where we run away from, which is human, because the human being was created to look for peace, to look for safety. This is what we were created for. This is what we are looking for in our lives. So we can't accept that something outwardly bad is actually inwardly good. We were not created like that. We see a rotten apple, say, I don't want this. We see a twisted, crooked car, we say, sorry, I don't want this. We see half a house, we say, no, it's not a complete house, I don't want it. This is how we are here. But the soul has eyes too. But as long as the soul is being blinded by the ego, it will not see. There's damp, like go like this. And the same as when you have a bath or a shower, you see on the mirror, you go like this, but when you go like this, it immediately comes back, right? Until all the steam is gone, and then you see clearly. And this is tawbah. We do tawbah, we see a little bit, but not yet. And then because we commit the next sin, there's damp again. So if now we were to refrain and abstain ourselves from sins, all while repenting, then all of a sudden we will see that our soul has eyes too. فإنها يعني لا تعمل أبصار, says Allah جل وعلا. It are not the eyes that go blind, ولكن تعمل قلوب التي في الصدور. But it are the hearts within the chest that go blind. And Allah says about the hearts, لهم قلوب لا يفقهون بها. They have hearts with which they do not reflect and ponder or understand. So here we see that the heart has been created to make that connection, but we keep on making it with our minds because our soul is not alive yet. And this is why Imam al-Qurtubi rahimahullah described these people who have these hearts buried in their bodies as if they were coffins to their souls. And he said, أجسامهم لأرواحهم قبور قبل القبور. Yani their hearts within their bodies, or their souls within their bodies, are buried in their coffins before they are buried under the soil. So if your soul is not alive, subhanAllah, your body is but a coffin. You're carrying around a dead man or a dead woman while walking, while sitting, while talking. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they can be revived. He says, أَوْ مَنْ كَانَ مَيِّتًا, is the one who was dead, فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ, and whom we have given life. نَعْمُ أَحِنَّاهُ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ, and whom we have given light with which he walks amongst men. SubhanAllah, it's the light of the soul. It's one that was dead, without faith, without guidance, without all of these things, without connection to Allah. Is he equal to the one that we have given life and provided with a light with which he walks amongst men? No? SubhanAllah. نورا يمشي به في الناس كمن مثله في الظلمات. Is he the same as the one who is in the obscurity of his own self. كَمَنْ مَثَلُهُ فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ لَيْسَ بِخَارِجٍ مِنْهَا. While he's not even able to escape from this obscurity, they are not the same. They are different. So, to come back, if these names of Jalal, we need to accept them. And that's our last task to get to Allah. It's exactly as this curtain right here. Asma'ul Jamal. So I'm saying Jamal and Jalal or Jalal and Jamal. So not with a reason, okay? So you have Asma al Jamal al Jalal and Asma al Jamal al Jalal, yani whatever. And you have this right in between. You see? And you need to cross the line. And you need to say, Ya Rabbi, subhanAllah, they said there was a man, and subhanAllah, everything he thought, he would see it in front of his eyes. So if he would see, he would just, the Shaykh would talk about like arrows coming down from the sky, he would see them. He would know they're not true, so it was not like he was running away, but he would see it, like see it in front of his eyes. And he got so disturbed by it, and he was fighting it all the time. Until one day he said, Ya Rab, if this is what you want from me, then I accept it. That same moment where he said this was the moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stopped him from seeing these things. Because what Allah Jalla wa ala wants at a certain point, how painful it may be, is for you to accept. And they say someone will not attain the highest levels of spirituality until his soul and honor and status are crushed by creation. SubhanAllah. And then they give the example of Ayub alayhi salam. Ayub alayhi salam, he had everything. He had pieces of land, he had cattle, he had many children, had his wife, status, honor, everything. Until a certain moment where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wanted to test him. And he wanted to test his prophet, Mundul Qidam, always. Allah doesn't make up his mind. Allah doesn't make choices now. Oh, I think now I make a choice. Allah always knew. That's Al-Alim. There was no moment that he didn't know. Okay? So now when Ayub alayhi salam, he all of a sudden was tested. So first his friends left him. And then he would walk down the street, and all of a sudden his money, he was tested in his money, in his wealth, in his pieces of land. So he was not as rich anymore amongst people. So now people started looking down upon him. So, and he was walking down the street and someone insulted him. And he went home and he said, Oh Allah, I ask you, to forgive the one that insults me. So anyway, time went on, then his own brothers left him and he heard them. They said, Ayub must really have done something bad. Because you should know, in Arabic we say mutribul hay. Now, mutribul hay. Mughni al-hay la yutrib. Meaning the singer of the town doesn't make people dance. The singer of the town doesn't get people on their feet. Like if you grow up with, with Ed Sheeran, you've always known him and you grew up with him, and then all of a sudden you see him sing. Yeah, it's just, it's Ed. Hi Ed, how are you? But nothing special. But for people who didn't grow up with him, oh, special. So this is an Arabic saying, يعني مغني الحي, يعني مغني الحي لا يطرب, يعني the singer of the hay doesn't make people dance. So that was the same with a lot of prophets. Within their midst, people would say, Ya Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you? Amongst all of us, you? Why not رجل يعني من القريتين عظيم? Why not one of the big, leaders of the two states, of the two cities? So no, they didn't like it. It was too normal. So Ayub alayhi salam, some people looked down upon him, and then the brother said, Ayub must have done something wrong. If he's tested like this, that's due to something very bad. And Ayub alayhi salam heard this, and he said, Ya Rab, he said, you know that when I used to hear people insult me, that I would ask you to forgive them. When I saw two people fighting, I said, Ya Rabbi, bring them back together, and so much more. So now his brothers left him as well. Everybody left him, apart from his wife. His wife was the only one that stayed with him. And wives are strong in this. Women leave the husband in desperate situations much more difficultly than men leave their wives. That in general. So, not saying that all men are bad, and not saying that all men, because that all men would run away, but in general. So now she stayed with her husband who didn't have money, who didn't have an income, who didn't have health, but the thing that worms would eat from his body and that they would fall down and he would take them back up and then they would eat from his body, we don't allow this. It's not a narration, it's from the Israeliyat, and we say that our prophets are never repulsive. Their outward state is never repulsive. This is one of our aqa'id. So that's a part of our aqidah. That our prophets don't lie, that our prophets are intellectual, that our prophets are free men, that our prophets also are not repulsive. Their khilqah, their outward appearance is never offensive, or repulsive. Okay, so we don't accept this. So anyway, so now, subhanAllah, he lost everything. So now Shaitan was even waswasa, doing some waswasa, like, oh, you're a loser, you're this, you're that. So even in his mind, but he was strong, he was a prophet. So one day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Urkud birijlik, hada mukhtasan baridun wa sharab. This is something refreshing and curing water. Subhanallah, all that time, during all these years, he was just laying down on the solution. There where he was laying down, he was actually, the water was right beneath him. And this is very often what we see when we are tested through these Asma'ul Jalal. We see that very often the answer to our problem is so easy. And this is once again Al-Alim. He didn't want to show us where the way out was. So sometimes the big problem that you say that you've been coping with for 5 years, 10 years, destroying you on the inside, all of a sudden now you say, oh, it was just this. SubhanAllah. But when time comes, it comes, right? So now Ayub alayhi salam, Allah said, just hit with your foot on the ground, with your heel, and khalas, you're cured. So when the water went over his skin and body, he was cured again and he was healthy again. And then when his wife came back, because she went to sell her hair, she had two, how do you call this, braids? Yeah, she already cut off one and she sold it. And now she went to sell the second one, so she didn't have any hair anymore. And this is the moment where Ayub alayhi salam asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure him, because it had touched his wife. It was not for himself. Because when his wife used to say, why don't you ask Allah to cure you? Why don't you ask Allah to cure you? He said, I was healthy for so many years. Shouldn't I now, be thankful that I was healthy for so many years and now be patient for the other years that I'm not as healthy? So he got angry with his wife just because she said this. So now she came back and she saw Ayub alayhi salam standing, and she started talking to him. But he was like this for this. What's the plural of decennia? How do you say 10 years in English? Decade. Okay, sorry. We go for the original word in Belgium. We say decennium. Decennia. Okay, anyway. So decade. Yeah. So he was like in this state for decades. So she forgot what her husband used to look like. So she came back and found him standing there. And she said, how? She said, and these narrations are authentic, mentioned by Shaykh Al-Khalidi in his Qasas min al-Quran. So she mentioned, like, you remind me of someone. And he was talking to her. He said, how much do you remind me of my husband when he was young? And he said, oh, really? He didn't, like in the narration, he didn't immediately go like, hey, I'm your husband. She said, oh, tell me more. And she explained him, and then she said, it is because I am your husband and Allah has cured me. So now the ulama say, like Ibn Ajiba rahimahullah azza wa jal mentioned in his Iqad al-Himam and in al-Usul from Ibn Ata'illah rahimahullah azza wa jal, they say that at the beginning, on your path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything which is there to you will be taken away. That is if you really want Allah. That's the beginning of all beginnings. You know, Ayub was given back everything afterwards, and there was a sign in it for us. Like sometimes you need to go through Asma'ul Jalal. One, to know your true friends. In times of affliction, many people lose many friends. And imagine yourself, an imam being falsely accused of being a terrorist, for example. All of a sudden on the news, BBC News. Imam, I'm not going to take myself as an example. Can I take you? No. So, Imam of, I don't know, Masjid A, big terrorist, and you know, he was planning something and I don't know what. You knew this Imam for so long. You yourself, you can't believe it. You say, that's impossible. You just feel it, you know it. But now, what will the mosque do? Imam, sorry, you know, we don't believe it, but you know, mosque comes first, house from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam says, but what about my family? I mean, I have children to feed. I know maybe we can, you know, fix an income for a month or something, and then, you know, there is social care. Like social care is going to take care of the terrorists. Anyway, so he's there, and then gently, oh, Imam, alhamdulillah, they want him out as quickly as they can, which is normal if it would be true. But what comes on the media, very often is not true. Very often, things go to media before they go to court. And then people judge based on media, and then after something goes through the media, a year and a half later or 2 years later, the half is only true, a third is only true, or nothing is true, or everything is true. You see? So now, then the Imam has friends. Now, the courageous friends of the Imam that were always saying, Shaykhi, Shaykhi, oh Shaykh, you're so good, oh Shaykh, I look up to you, you know, these people. Now what do? They go home to their wives and say, I don't know what to do, you know, he was always a good man, but you never know, you know, what people do behind the screens. Oh, subhanAllah, the Imam, we're talking about someone unguilty, right? Who's not guilty. So then, what do you think? Wallahi, Habibi, you know, we're not allowed to judge, but you know, life is difficult. I mean, if you're connected to him, you know what they're going to do. I don't want to scare you, but don't forget Guantanamo. So, okay, so now the wife is afraid, which is normal. She doesn't want to ruin her life with her children. So now Imam from Masjid A calls people. Oh, they changed their number. He mails them, doesn't get a reply. Goes to people at home, they don't open the door. And now he's all alone. The one that they used to applaud for yesterday is the one they run away from today. If now a Muslim is true to his belief, he will say, the Prophet ﷺ said, الْبَيِّنَةُ عَلَى الْمُدَّعِي وَالْيَمِينُ عَلَى مَنْ أَنْكَرَ. Which means proof needs to be provided by he or she who claims something. And it is sufficient for the one who's being accused without proof. Say, Wallahi, it's not true. The Prophet ﷺ said, if people were giving by that which they claim to have a right on, then the blood of people and the honor of people would be destroyed. So now, sometimes things like this happen, where people go through things they can't explain. They're too big. And especially when someone is a wali of Allah Jalla wa Ala and comes very close to Allah, that is where the most strange things happen. Where things like Maryam alayhi salam wasn't a prophet, is it? She came back and she had to try to explain to her people that, well, I'm pregnant, but I never did something wrong. I didn't have a secret marriage. I wasn't married, but it's just there. So now this is why she said, إِنِّي نَظَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. I have promised my Lord that today I will not talk to anybody. I'm sa'im, yani meaning I will not talk to people, because it was too difficult to explain. But who would have believed her? Really? A prophet? A wali? The normal practicing Muslim in these days might say, oh, Maryam, Yeah, because it were the believers who told her this. Were not the disbelievers who said, Ya Maryam, laqad ji'ti shay'an fariya. They said, oh Maryam, you came with something very, very strange. ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغية. Your father wasn't an evil man, and your what? Your mother wasn't someone without a woman without norms and etiquette and good behavior. فأشارت إليه. So she pointed at him like, she didn't know he was, that he would answer, but this is what she did. So is it clear? So now people go through this jalal and look at the story of Aisha radiallahu anha, when everybody accused her falsely of not being true to her husband, and when her father said, Ya Aisha, if you admit it, maybe Allah will forgive you. Her father. Prophet ﷺ went to Ali radiallahu anhu and said, what do you think? He said, there are many women in the world, divorce her. But Aisha heard it. So this is why Aisha radiallahu anha sometimes refers to Ali radiallahu anhu and a man. She says, yes, so there were two people carrying him, this man, and then she mentions him by name, and a man. Because it's normal, she had something here, which is normal, right? But at the end, when the two armies, met and they were about to fight one another, then she took the bay'ah with Ali radiallahu anhu and everything was all right. But which is normal, her feeling. So now Aisha radiallahu anha, not knowing anything, her proper husband, Rasul. This was the climax, I think, of the test of a Muslim being in the household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she was the most beloved wife to the Prophet alayhi salatu because of her deen. Not because of beauty, or they say that Juwairiya radiallahu anha was the most beautiful wife of the Prophet ﷺ. That Juwairiya was a very, very beautiful. She was from a Jewish tribe. So now to come back. So you see, I think this is the climax of being tested. She was also the one that was very attached to the Prophet ﷺ. She was very attached to him. So now he doesn't talk to her anymore. Imagine Prophet ﷺ coming in. She said, Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah, Assalamu alaikum zawji, Assalamu alaikum Muhammad, whatever she said. And she said, I had to look at his lips to see if they were moving. He wouldn't sleep next to me, he wouldn't eat with me, and he wouldn't talk to me. She said, so I became sick for a month and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was wrong. So one day, someone took me out, we went for a walk, and said, Aisha, do you know what they are talking about? Do you know what the people in Medina are saying? She said, no. And then they told her. She told that people were accusing her. So now this was too much for her. She said, now I know why the Prophet ﷺ is not responding. The thing is, the Prophet ﷺ didn't believe, neither did he. He was neutral. He was waiting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which shows how strong of a man he was. You see, just waiting for revelation. And this is one of the proofs, because you should know that one of the worst things in the Arabic tribe, within the Arabic world, was your wife cheating on you. That was the worst thing. So the Prophet ﷺ, still being married to her, not divorcing her, and waiting for revelation, is one of these many proofs that revelation was happening. Because within the Arab world, a man would let go immediately of his wife. You see? But no, because that was a shame to stay with someone who was accused. He would, no, leave. So now he stayed with her. So, and then during this period, the father of Aisha radiallahu anha said, Ya Aisha, if you have done it, just admit it. Maybe Allah will forgive you, and the Prophet ﷺ will ask Allah to forgive you. Then she said, if I were to say that I did it, you would believe me, and Allah would know that I didn't do it. And if I say that I didn't do it, you would not believe me. If I say I do it, you believe me. If I say I didn't do it, then you wouldn't believe me. She said, so I will say exactly like the pious man. She was referring to the father of Yusuf alayhi salam, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, which means I will be patient in a very beautiful way. Okay. So now when everything was behind the back, and when everything happened, and then she was declared innocent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Then her father said, go to the Prophet and thank him. She said, it is from Allah and I will thank only him. She came at a level where in this jalal, where she was shivering, shaking, crying, it doesn't mean that we're not feeling any pain. We are not angels. When you're in jalal, you have qabd. You know, you feel tight, you feel narrow, you maybe you can't breathe, maybe you can't sleep, you cry. But you still have Allah. But it wouldn't be a test if you wouldn't be feeling it, is it? So you have to feel it. But at the end, when everything was cleared up, she said, only Allah. Came from Allah. And this is the result of Asma'ul Jalal. That you, khalas, say now even if people like me, they don't like me, people accuse me, they don't accuse me, people, whatever, I'm with Allah. And this is where we need to get to. And that's the most difficult thing. Imam Mu'adh al-Razi, rahimahullah azza wa jal, said, like Imam Sha'rani, rahimahullah azza wa jal, said in his book Tanbih al-Mukhtareen, he said, someone will not be a truly sincere slave until he's like a baby. As long as he gets his milk, he doesn't care about what you say. You know, you feed him, and you shouldn't do this, it's just an example. You feed him, with the same voice you say, oh, you beautiful baby, you're so nice. Or with the same voice you say, oh, you most ugly baby in the world. It will keep on smiling. Whatever you say, it doesn't care. As long as it gets its milk. And this is the slave. As long as you get Allah's attention, you don't care what the people say. As long as you know that you're on the truth. But how difficult is it? Because we want to be, subhanAllah, look at Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was in Al-Jalal, in prison, and the king said, take him out. He said, I won't get out. He said, until the people what? Until the people declare the truth, that I am innocent. This is one stage. Now what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Because we understand the hadith in a wrong way. He said, if I were Yusuf, I would have gone out before asking people to declare my innocence. Now people say, oh, that means that Yusuf had a lot of sabr because he was firm. No, it means that Muhammad ﷺ didn't care. They say it, they don't say it. They are in prison. I am not. I go out. Talk or don't talk. Do you understand? And very often we understand the hadith in another way. Oh, was the Prophet ﷺ then weaker than Yusuf, who said, I'm not getting out of prison until my innocence is declared. And then the Prophet declared. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, if I were Yusuf, I would have what? I would have gone out. Meaning that he's so strong that even if people wouldn't believe in his innocence, he knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew it. But to be quite frank, is this easy? The most difficult thing. Ya Rabbi. Look at how crazy people go when today they only have 2 likes and they were expecting 50. People get depressed. No, it's true. Look at, if you post a post, how many times a day are you going to look? How many people like my post about my milkshakes? No, it's true. Like, oh, only 2 today. Maybe I should change the color of the shake. I mean, Allah ya Rabbi. People go mad if Ronaldo makes 1 goal less a season. So, yes, we are attention seekers. So now, to come back. So, is the Asma'ul Jalal, as I said at the very beginning, is something you need to connect to. All these names. Al-Qahhar, Al-Jabbar, Al-Azim, Al-Mani', Al-Khafid, Mani', the one who prevents you from having things. Al-Khafid, the one that brings and smacks you down. You need to go through this. I mean, there were prophets that were tortured. Prophets that were killed. قَتْلِهِمُ الْأَنْبِيَاءَ بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ. And because of their killings of the prophets without any reason. Can you imagine prophets being killed? Prophets. So, I mean, if it goes till killing, then everything else is easy. You know, killing is the highest. Can you go worse than kill someone? So they were killed. Prophets were killed. So everything before killing is okay then. If you understand what I mean. I'm going to have a bit of coffee because these Asma'ul Jalal are quite heavy. Subhanallah. Ya Rabbi. Yes.
Just a question coming back to what you were saying earlier. Sometimes, sorry, I've heard, is there a saying that closeness is a type of veil? So the people that are close to you,
yes,
or,
yes,
or the things that are close to you,
yes,
they don't perceive even the value of something.
Yes, yes. This is why scholars, when they go home, I'm not talking about myself, but scholars or students of knowledge, when they go home, they're just a husband, you know. They don't have the Shaykh privilege. You know, you go home and you're late, you need to tell why you are late. You come home and you forgot to bring the cheese. You need to say, why did you forget the cheese? You see what I mean? Or you will be put on your spot, on your place. Like, why did you say this? Why did you? Which is normal because you're wife and husband. But it can be a veil. And this is why usually the children and the wife or the husband of a male or female sheikh, they are blind for that knowledge because they live with the person. They don't live with the knowledge. And they will take you into account for your bad behavior or your shortcomings much quicker because they know that you preach, right? So you preach things, and if you then don't do it, even if it's something small, they will talk about it. So yes, it's a veil. This is why a lot of people, a lot of mashaykh, they don't like to live close to their students. Because then the awe, which is needed in a certain way, and respect, you know, evaporates and goes away. And so sometimes it's better to, you know, to just see the shaykh in times of teaching and so much more. Because you see this also with children. When you laugh too much with them and you play a lot with them, then at the end of the day, I don't mean your own children, I mean children in general that you teach, who you teach, then they respect might, you know. Yeah. Wallahu alam. I don't know. Just talking. What do you take away of what we have said? So the Asma'ul Jamal and the Asma'ul Jalal are clear for everybody what it really is. So at the beginning of your way, as I said, Asma'ul Jalal come on your way. So, but never disconnect, how painful it may be, the difficulties in your life from Allah's names. Because then you drown. If you don't perceive His names and witness His names behind what is happening to you, it will be nothing but a very cold prison where you are locked up in isolation and where you have no hope whatsoever. But if you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also moves people or brings people on your path who are evil or bad, or make you sad or stab you in the back after you have been good to them, or accuse you while you have been talking good about them. Like I know a shaykh who was always talking good about a student. He introduced his student to the people. Like, he's a good man, he's a very good student, he's this, he's that, he's such a... Then the student felt big and important, and you know, and all of a sudden he, behind the back of the shaykh, started talking to the students of the shaykh, started talking bad about the shaykh. So the students, bit by bit, left the shaykh and started going with the what? With the student. So they became the students of that student. And these kind of things just happen. These kind of things happen. And then I always think, of what Cristiano Ronaldo did actually. I don't know if you know. I'm sorry I talk about him. It's not haram to talk about him, is it? Maybe be Cristiano, Christ. So Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, when I think about how he made it, when they scouted him, there were some scouts, right? And there were two, he was playing with his friend, and the scout said, the one who makes a goal, we will take him to play in England. So now they were going, and there was an open goal. And his friend passed the ball to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo scored. Ronaldo said, why did you do this? And the friend said, because I know that you're a better player than I am. You deserve it. So he was in front of an open goal, could have done it. So later on, an interviewer, some years ago, they found out about someone who had a villa and a car, and they didn't know where it came from. So they visited his house and said, where did you get this from? You're living like in a nice villa, good car. And he said, this is Cristiano Ronaldo who gave it to me. He said, why? He said, because I gave him a pass. Because I passed the ball to him. And he said, he has never forgotten it. So he took care of me and my family. Now you can say, yeah, but that's because he got millions. Well, some people with millions don't do anything. And if you have 100, you can give 5. Some people don't give the 5. You see? So if you think about this, and I think, why sometimes do non-Muslims keep certain values very high? And why don't we Muslims do this all the time? That's a question I ask myself, especially when I look at Usain Bolt, for example. This man inspired me in which way? I mean, for a year, this guy is training for now he's not training anymore. He's living somewhere in Jamaica, maybe. So he's training for a year to improve his world record, and his world record, how much is going to improve it? A fraction of a second, a microsecond. Training 1 year. He's sleeping, he's eating, he's training, he's resting. Everything, his movements, his gym, during 1 year is constructed around improving a microsecond. And we are going back to Allah with atom weights of good and bad. He trained so hard for a microsecond. If we were to train so hard to get rid of atom weights of evil, subhanAllah, that would be so beautiful. Then it won't be the public, the masses shouting, wow, microsecond quicker, you're a hero. But it will be Yawm al-Qiyamah, the angels. Well done, tibtum fadkhuluha khalidin. Now says Allah Jalla wa Ala, the angels will say, Yani tibtum, well done, fadkhuluha khalidin. Yani enter into it forever, yani the gardens of Eden. So if we, can work on our atom weights as he worked for microseconds, Allah says, وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ, those who run fast, who compete with others. So yes, we can be inspired. This is what Imam al-Ghazali says. Like, look at the experts in dunya and do the same in your deen, and you will be a strong believer. Look at the experts in dunya and do the same with your deen. Benchmarking before your akhirah. You will become strong. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be quite frank, these are just thoughts that I share, that I'm in need of myself. I'm in no way preaching. I'm just reminding. And I don't say this to be humble. Wallahi, I mean it. Everything I say is a reminder for myself. I'm speaking out loud to people who know better, who do better, who are better, whom I hope when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to throw me into hell, I can reach out a hand to. And that they will say, Rabbi, please don't throw him there, because he was teaching us in the mosque. Ameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make today better than yesterday, and tomorrow better than today. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove poverty from the face of the earth, oppression from the face of the earth, and to help everyone who is in need. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our stay in this dunya like fasting and our meeting with Him like Eid. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك ربي إني كنت من الظالمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين يا رب العالمين. الله